What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Stock Watch Sunday. Looks like there's a few folks rolling in. I'll give it some time. Let everybody else catch up. So let me get on to the pleasantries here. My name is Brad, and this channel is Own the Chaos. Every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, I go over the top stocks that I'm watching throughout the week. So if this is the first time you're visiting, first of all, welcome. Happy to have you. Hopefully, I earn a subscription from you, and you clicking that notification bell, as well as a thumbs up for you tuning in and seeing what stocks that I'm watching out for. Now, I will say, not to pat myself on the back, we've been doing pretty well. Anticipated Tesla making its move, and we'll talk about that later on in the show. And was pretty spot on with most of the earnings. Apple ended up beating lots of other ones. So if you want to go check that out, watch last week's Stock Watch Sunday just to see how well we did. And I thought about you guys. Let me know in the comments later if you're watching this at a later date, or maybe even the chat below as well. I thought about doing just a real quick rundown where I was right, where I was wrong, and how we managed risk going into certain plays like that. So if each Stock Watch Sunday you would like me to go over the previous week and kind of help you guys see where I was right and where I was wrong, I thought it'd be kind of like a cool little quick 5-minute, session of just being like, hey, this is where we estimated correctly. This is where we estimated incorrectly. Maybe just like a way to keep us all accountable, right? I'm a firm believer in letting everybody know on the YouTube space that no matter how good of a trader you think somebody is or you think you might be, nobody's ever right 100% of the time. And so I always like to shed light on that fact. But the key is just to be right more times than you're not and always manage risk. So for that reason, if you haven't visited before, or if this is your first time visiting this channel, again, I would appreciate that subscription. So let me welcome some folks in here, which, by the way, as well, not only am I going over the stocks that I'm watching, but I will also go over some stocks that you would like me to look over as well. I can definitely give you my opinion on those. So make sure that you're putting them in the chat. I always screw this up. Make sure you're putting in the chat next door here. And all I ask is just to kind of give me some perspective. Why is it that you're seeing value in that stock? So I have some sort of direction. I at least know where I'm going. So if you want to put the stocks that you would like me to take a look at, certainly put those in the chat. I would appreciate it. And if you're watching this at a later date after this has already been posted, certainly leave comments below in the comment section. I reply to all of the comments, every single one. I set time aside so I can reply to all of your comments. So I will look over yours. So within 24 hours, if you'd like me to take a look at your favorite stock, I certainly would do that for you. No problem. So let me welcome some folks here. I knew some people were going to say that. I chopped off all my hair. So nice buzz there, Sparky. Yeah, that's an interesting nickname. But yeah, I got it all chopped off. If you haven't been following me for a while, I had real long hair. I got sick of it. Every once in a while you just kind of want to change it up. So I decided to change it up. Which, by the way, went to an amazing barber. If you don't go to a barber and they don't hand you a beer as soon as you get in, you need to go to a different barber. That's all I'm saying. So anyways, what's going on, John, Quick Fox, Alan, good to see you, Jane Lane, Karam, Andrew, J Kaz, what's up, Joe? Good to see you, man. Always love seeing Joe here. R. Hanks, what's up? John LaRoe, what's going on, Lost One, Hope, always good to see you too. Hope you got those kids in bed. You're going to need a secretary. John Lewis wants me to take a look at Sown. We can definitely look at that. Glad I avoided Grubhub, which I told you that was probably not going to be a good one. So glad we saved you there as well. Winter's over. Listen, and so here, let me give you a little bit of backstory here. So where I live in Maryland, and I live rural town, Maryland. It's not really a big city or anything like that. It's a pretty small town. In 1 week, we experienced 65-degree weather, a tornado, snow, and now it's back down into the 30s. So it's been an unbelievable week. Literally, there was a tornado 2 weeks from two blocks away from my place here. So a little bit of a scary week. So yeah, it's been pretty crazy. Unbelievable. So I hope winter's over. I hope that at least one season will show up this week. We'll see. I would even be okay with winter at this point, just as long as there's no more tornadoes. I'd be cool with that. So what's up? Much respect. Mark, good to see you guys. So pretty good turnout here. So what we're looking at this week to task at hand, there's earnings weeks, right? Earnings week this week. So we're going to look at a bunch of earnings plays and then talk about Tesla. We expected this pretty big pullback that we saw. We expected the run up to continue. I mean, it got damn near close to $1,000 per share. $968.99 was the all-time high for Tesla this past week. Had a huge gap down, and then it settled out into the 700s. And so I'll explain to you what I think a good strategy could be leading into this coming week for Tesla. Looks as if Gigafactory is going to be open back up tomorrow or earlier or later on this week. So we'll keep an eye on that. But the earnings plays is going to be Lyft, Shop, Roku, Nvidia, the four main ones that I'm watching. There's plenty of other earnings plays. So if there's an earnings call that you would like me to take a look at that I did not mention during Stock Watch Sunday, again, feel free to put it in the chat over here or put it in the comments below. And anyways, yeah, let's get to it. I can't believe my house is still standing, by the way. I really can't. I'm not kidding when I say that it was 2 blocks from my house. It's unbelievable. So let me share my screen here, and I'm going to share it over here to WeTrade HQ. Now, this is a platform that I've built with my partner, Jake. We built WeTrade HQ for people who want to learn how to trade stocks, and it's also a social media platform. So as you can see here, I have Shopify pulled up. And what you can do is that you can do your own technical analysis on Shopify. You can talk about it amongst your friends. You can see there's a lot of people talking about it, including myself. You can check out the financials of any stock that you would like to look at, filings, and then lastly, news. So each ticker has its own profile, if you will. And every single ticker has this, but there's also a learning platform as well. And if you're curious about that, I have a learning platform where I go live with people from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern time, and then I'm with you in a chat all day long, so in a private chat. So if you're interested in that, the links are down in the description below. I highly encourage you to check that out. There's people that are currently in this chat right now in Stock Watch Sunday that are in my morning mentorship, and they love it. It's a great community to be a part of, so if you're interested in checking that out, links are down in the description below. But anyways, back on to Shopify. So Shopify has earnings. They come out pre-market on Wednesday the 12th. Their expected earnings are 24 cents earnings per share. I think maybe this continues. So as you can see here, I pulled up the daily chart on Shopify, and I think there's a pretty good bet that they end up beating earnings yet again. Let me run something by you here, okay? This in 2019, Shopify has had a monster year, obviously, right? Each quarter, they've beat earnings by a ton. So let's go back to the first quarter of 2019. Their estimated earnings per share was $0. They just wanted to end flat, okay? Earnings per share then in the first quarter was 9 cents a share. That was their actual earnings per share. So that's what caused this to start to skyrocket. So we go back to their earnings per share reporting, which would have been in March. You can see how this already started to move up. And then second quarter, earnings per share estimated at 5 cents per share. Actual is at 14 cents per share. And then the third quarter was 15%. I'm sorry. Yeah. The third quarter was 15 cents estimated, and then they crushed those earnings at 29 cents a share profitability. So you can see that this right here was when they first announced that they crushed earnings at 29 cents per share, almost doubling what the expectation was. And that's what's caused this to go crazy. Okay. And so I think that there's no reason for me to believe that they're not going to beat earnings this time around. And so their estimated earnings are going to be 24 cents a share. I would venture to say that it's probably going to be somewhere around 35 cents per share. I'm just going out a whim there, and I don't have any, real explanation as to why I think that is, but just based off of the history of this thing and how they've just blown earnings out of the water year after year, or quarter after quarter, I should say. I mean, the fact that they're estimating 24 cents a share when in the third quarter they were at 29 cents per share actual, I think they're being a little bit conservative here. So I think they end up blowing earnings out of the water this time around. They have over 1 million merchants, okay, up 30% from 12 months ago. up 30% in merchants, up from 12 months ago. They have merchants that include Gatorade and the BBC. So I think Shopify is just going to be another monster in this space. Everybody's talking about Tesla going crazy, but I think Shopify is also another one of those stocks that just keeps going. And so I don't have any real reason to believe that this doesn't do this. At this point in the game, you're looking at this trend line that I've drawn for you, and this goes all the way back to November. So since November, this thing has gone straight up, and there's no reason to believe that it's going to slow down anytime soon. If they miss earnings by some slim chance they miss earnings, it's going to have a hard fall. So look for it to potentially come back down as low as right here at $4.11. $411 is where it could potentially come back down to, even lower depending on how much they miss. But you can see how this trend has just been an amazing trend for Shopify, and I think that it continues after earnings on Wednesday. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you guys agree with me, if you disagree with me, but Canadians love their Shopify. I saw Jeff tuning in here. If there's any other of my fellow Canadians, they love their Shopify. And, I don't think there's any reason to believe that this doesn't continue to go up. If we go out to a 30-minute chart, you can see that it still follows it pretty darn well. Look at this trend that it follows on the 30-minute. If we just go all the way back over the last quarter. So if you're looking at this on a 30, you can see that there's a pretty tough resistance here at 480. So look for a move up over 480. You can see that briefly went up over 480, came back down, and settled back down just below it. So I think that 480 is going to be a tough resistance for it, but I do think that it gets over it, especially if it ends up beating earnings. Look for a move towards $500 a share if this beats earnings. Okay? That is Shopify for you guys. Let's take a look, see how you guys are, see if we can get some reactions here. So let's see here. People getting rich up in here. Yeah. Sorry, Brad, I'm getting ready to plow snow. When are Shopify earnings? Shopify earnings, again, they are on Wednesday the 12th, pre-market there, Jeff. Shop going to crush earnings and tank. No, I don't think it's going to crush earnings and tank. I think it's going to crush earnings and keep going. I really think that that's going to be what's going to happen with Shopify. Are they going to be less? Are they going to be disappointed if earnings are less than double? No, I think they're going to be. I think if they just beat them in general, I think it's going to be a positive reaction to Shopify. General consensus is, like I said, 24 cents a share, and I think that's conservative. I think if it's below, I would say if it's below 30 cents per share, people will be disappointed. But I still think it's going to be over 30. I think it's going to be 35 to 37 cents a share. Probably that's what I'm estimating, somewhere around there. And I think if it's around that number, then it's going to do well. Shopify is the Amazon of the North. I like that. Some already baked in from overreaction from last quarter. I mean, it's possible, but this has just been on such a tear. And at this stage in the game, Gene, it goes with that old adage, the trend is your friend. And so, again, if we go back to the daily chart here, you can see how this trend just keeps going. And as long as it continues to follow this trend, it should keep going. And, if it doesn't, then we know that there's going to be a potential pullback, and we know where it could pull back to. So that's what you need to understand. As long as it continues to follow this trend, I'd say we're in good shape. If for some reason the earnings don't go well and it ends up breaking out of this trend, we know where it's going to land, and you just have to make sure that you're managing risk accordingly. All right. Yeah, actually, the trend is your friend is a really old saying. A lot of old, analysts and, chartists love saying the trend is your friend. It's actually a pretty old saying. So yeah, it's a pretty old one. So anyways, next one's going to be, Roku. Now I got to admit to you guys, Roku for me has always been a struggle for me to trade. And, there's probably a lot of folks out there that are like, I don't understand. This is a really easy one to trade. I can see how this reacts all the time. But to me, when you look at this daily chart, it's all over the place. Gap ups, gaps down. It just goes all over the place. The only thing that's actually been consistent lately since the beginning of December has been a downtrend. And again, talking about trend being your friend, this is showing no signs of going up. Their earnings come out after hours on Thursday, the 13th. They're expected to have earnings per share at a loss of 14 cents per share. The revenues is supposed to be around 400 million, in revs, 391 to be exact. And so for this, to me, this is showing no signs of any kind of reversal just yet. So, and if they end up missing these earnings, let's say that they, the earnings per share come out at even more of a loss than 14 cents per share, then expect Roku to come back down to potentially $100. I would expect it to come down to, I think it would be a very sharp reaction. Having said that, I'm curious to see how this works out. So if Roku ends up beating earnings, right, we'll be looking for a nice little reversal here. But if they end up beating earnings, it could be a really strong move. You could see that they had $177 up here. Let's just go out on a limb and say that they turn a profit this year or this quarter. Excuse me. Let's just say they turn a profit. We'll see new highs. No doubt in my mind, this goes up above 177 if they end up being profitable. I think there's a very slim chance that happens, but if it does, it should make a very strong move. So that being said, I always tell everybody, and in full disclosure here, you should not be holding over earnings if you can't afford the risk. It's very, very risky. Lots of people like to equate it to, playing roulette, putting it on black or red and just seeing what happens going into earnings. But there are, educated decisions that you can make. We knew that Tesla, very high chance that was going to be earnings, and it ended up crushing earnings, right? Apple, same way. We did our due diligence. We knew that there was a pretty good chance that Apple was going to have really good earnings, and they did, crushed them. Roku is a really big question mark. And so I don't know if this is going to be one that would be worth holding over earnings. I think this is more of a let's watch and see how this goes, and then make your play after earnings, and see where that goes. If you want to take a risk in the Roku and hold over earnings, just know that there's a chance that you could lose a lot of your money. There's also a chance that you could make a ton, but you just have to go into it knowing that I know what my risk is here, and I'm okay with it, putting it on black and seeing where my chips fall. And I think that's probably enough cliches there. But, with Roku, it's going to be a really big question mark. And, with 14 cent loss, like I said, if somehow they pull this out and become, show that they're in the black, gosh, I'm telling you, it'll probably go up above those all-time highs at 172. So be on the lookout for Roku. Again, earnings are after hours on Thursday the 13th, okay? Next one we're going to look at is Nvidia. Nvidia has earnings, same thing, after hours Thursday on the 13th. Their estimated earnings per share is at 166. They're expected to have $3 billion in revenues, and it's the first time that they'll have increased in revenues in more than a year. So they're expected to do really well this quarter. A lot of this is related to data center sales involving the cloud. I think it's been their biggest focus up to this point. And so some of their biggest competition would be obviously AMD. AMD actually did really well on earnings and had a poor reaction because I think they were expecting earnings to be better than what they were. Most people were. But nevertheless, they were still positive. So AMD, I'm still bullish on if you guys are curious about that. And so be on the lookout for that. So Nvidia, I think, ends up doing rather well. I think they end up beating earnings this time around. Estimated at 166, I would say 170. I don't think they beat them by a ton. But again, you can see how well this trend has been doing. And this is the theme across the entire stock market lately, right? Where everything just keeps running up. But as long as the trend still looks good, there's no reason to think that this is going to come down anytime soon. And it hasn't been linear, right? It hasn't been a linear trend. You've seen these pullbacks. Everybody just keeps buying the dip. And so as long as it keeps working, you just keep doing it, until it doesn't work anymore. And then you have to create a new plan. So right now the plan is just to continue to buy the dip. You can see that there is a $250 resistance. I would say right now it's kind of depending on where you're looking at this, and this is a daily chart, so it makes it a little bit tougher. But right now it's just hanging right at 250. So if earnings come out and they're positive and it ends up breaking 260, we could see new highs out of Nvidia. If it ends up doing poorly, you can see that you could probably make a pretty safe bet that this is going to end up breaking this trend, coming back down to 230 or lower. And so you want to be on the lookout for this. But if I were to, hold over earnings, I think this one will be a good one to hold over. I think they end up beating earnings and with their expected revenues to be better than they have in over a year, I would expect Nvidia to do rather well this earnings call. Again, that is going to be on Thursday, the 13th after hours. Okay, so that is Nvidia. Next one's going to be Lyft. Let me check in with you guys to see if I got any questions or comments. I need a winning pick this week. Yeah, it looks like people are kind of in the same boat as I am as far as Roku is. I did not talk about Tesla. Yeah, we'll get to Tesla. I'll actually do Tesla last. So we're going to talk about Lyft next. Peloton. So Peloton, yeah, I'm not big on Peloton right at this point. Lost one, smaller loss over last quarter, big gap downs with short interest bouncing off of 200 MA. We can talk about that. I'll pull up the chart for you. Lost one. As soon as I get done going over Lyft and Tesla, I'll pull that up for you. So, if my WeTrade admin could remind me of that, I would appreciate it. Okay. So then let's go ahead and go on to, and I'll get to that too, Mr. Alamet. So Lyft, their earnings are expected. When the earnings come out for them? Oh, shoot, I didn't put it down. I'll look it up. I'll look it up for you guys in just a second. But I think Lyft is on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go to the news. Let's just pull it up. So this is the great thing about, oh, maybe not. I have to log into Barron's. That's so stupid. I hate Barron's for that reason. Let's see. Here we go. The Street. Do they have when the earnings come out? Tuesday, February after hours. So there you go. This is how awesome WeTrade HQ is, guys. If you're not a part of the community, you need to be. So Tuesday after hours for Lyft. I didn't write it down. That's my fault. Sorry about that. And so they're expected to operate at a loss at $1.36. So it'll be a loss of $1.36 earnings per share. The company's performance over the last 3 quarters suggests that it can deliver and beat those earnings. They've been beating earnings over the last 3 quarters. Restructuring is going to be a big key for Lyft going into this earnings report. They laid off 100 employees, which is about 2% of their workforce. We'll learn more in the report coming up as far as how they're planning on restructuring it. They came out after saying that they laid off 100 employees, that they plan on hiring 1,000 in 2020. So that should be interesting. We'll see how that outlook looks on Lyft this quarter or for the fourth quarter. And I think that addressing profits versus growth is going to be super key here. So let me just bring you back here to the camera real quick. So I think that this is going to be really pivotal for Lyft because of how Uber's earnings report turned out. Uber ended up beating earnings. They still operate at a loss. Obviously, if you guys tuned into the video that I put out on Friday about my opinion on Uber, I think the same applies to Lyft. I think that Lyft actually ends up doing well because they have to just keep up with the rat race of Uber. And I think Uber ends up beating earnings, and I think it does well, but I don't think in the long term that this is going to be a sustainable business. And I know that people think that I'm crazy for saying this, and it's really not me trying to be a Tesla fanboy or anything like that. I really am not, because I've done extensive research, and you can go back and look at all of my videos. I've just done a lot of research on this stuff, and Tesla's auto taxi service is going to disrupt the market yet again. Tesla's already been a disruptor in a lot of different areas. They're already starting to prove that when they come out, and I think they will show that come Battery Day, when they have Battery Day in April. And they already showed the capabilities of their robo-taxis last April. And, people, they asked me a lot of questions about, do I think that the government's going to allow these auto robo-taxis to, or lawmakers going to pass this? This is going to be allowed. And I think they do. You have statistics that say, that you're 40% less likely to get in a car accident if you just own a Tesla. So, do I think that they're going to get rid of steering wheels and all that? Probably eventually. I don't think that happens in this decade, but I think the capability of the robotaxi kills Lyft and it kills Uber unless somehow they figure out a way to partner with each other. Because, if I'm a Tesla owner and I know that my Tesla can make me $30,000 plus a year and I don't even have to be in it, you can bet your ass that I'm going to be all over that. So, and why would I work for Lyft or Uber at that point, And, Elon says that he thinks that it could end up being cheaper for users of their robo-taxis. So I think long-term Lyft is going to be in trouble unless they figure something out. Right now it's just grow at all costs, which they're starting to realize that isn't the business plan anymore. Uber already, acknowledged that. And I think that Lyft is probably going to acknowledge this as well. A lot of these IPOs that came out in 2019 just really, fell flat because of that, and that's why WeWork didn't even make the IPO, because they're still focused on just growing at all costs. And the problem is that you can't just continue to throw money at something and expect all the problems to be fixed. When you have CEOs that are making $45 million a year, like the CEO of Uber, or you have, the CEO of WeWork flying around in his, $64 million jet, when the company still isn't even close to being profitable. You're increasing revenues every year, but then you're still doubling your losses. That's a math problem that just doesn't work. So I think long term, unless they figure something out, these stocks are still going to be in trouble. But I know that I went on a little bit of a tangent, but I think that it was needed to be said. That, I think they do well. I think they end up beating the expectations, but I still think that they have a long way to go to really, be sustainable in the field that they're in the sector that they're in. The other thing too, insurance costs are projected to rise to $600 million just for Lyft. Insurance costs are expected to rise to $600 million. And a lot of it has to do with the skill level of their drivers. This is the other issue, and this is why I wanted to talk about the robotaxis, because the robotaxis, what the skill level is of a robotaxi. They know, it's automatic. And so with Lyft and Uber, you have humans driving around, and the skill level of these drivers are all over the place. You have good drivers. You might have some suspect drivers in there and even some bad drivers. So, you can do all the background checks you want, but there's also just that human element. Somebody ends up having a stroke while they're driving. You can't predict any of that, and so these robo-taxis, I think, are really going to change the game. And I know that I sound crazy, and I know that I sound like I'm way out there, but I think that it's really going to happen at some point. And expect these robo-taxis to start showing up within the next 5 years. I think before 2025, we see our first robo-taxi on the road. So that is my thoughts on Lyft. But giving that, if you look at the chart here, just for the short term, just for this week, you can see that they're right around $49. They've tested this level several times. You can see 1, 2, 3, we'll call it 4, and even right now around $5. So $49, we'll call it $50. Seems to be a really tough resistance for Lyft. So if we see it break $50, it should make a really nice move in the short term. But again, like I said, I would not hold on to this. And I would venture to say that they do end up beating earnings, and they probably have a really positive outlook, but it won't last. So make sure that if you're planning on trading this one, and look for it to break that $50 mark, make your money. And just in my opinion, again, you don't have to do anything that I tell you to do. This is just my opinion. I think that if it were me, and it will be me, I will not be in Lyft very long. So just making a short-term play and riding the wave that everybody else, that are high on these stocks are on, and getting out, before everybody else does. I think that would just be the smart move here, in my opinion. Now that I went on that little bit of a rant, but again, like I said, I think it was well worth talking about. So, anyways, yeah, before I move on to Tesla, I'm gonna eat popsicle. That's okay. Well, that's pretty funny, actually. Made 60% profit with Uber calls. And again, like I said, I think that's great. I didn't expect Uber to beat earnings. But we'll see how Uber ends up being profitable by the end of 2020. I still think that is a huge challenge, especially with their Uber Eats continuing to lose them money. But bought 2 days before, sold, and that's a great move, great trade there for sure. Robotaxi is going to have defensive driving skills. They already do, Jane, even with humans in them. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. Will they stop at the ROFO? I guess if you ask them to, we'll see. So, Lyft and Uber insurance don't help drivers. Lyft and Uber insurance don't help drivers. They have to have endorsement on their personal. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not just so. Yes, Richard, you're right. But Lyft also has their own insurance that they have to pay. So it's not just the driver that's liable, but it's also the company too. Anyhow, Jane. Oh, Hope. Okay. Ticker symbol PNIS. I think that, yeah, we can take a look at that one. Virgin Galactic. We can talk about that as well. They don't stop for squirrels, though. Yeah. I was going to allow it, Sick Puppy. You didn't have to change it. Anyways, yeah, well, I don't really stop for squirrels either. But moving on, Tesla is going to be the last one that I look at. And Tesla, again, like we said before, this is an ugly chart. This is an ugly-ass chart, guys. And this is a 30-minute. But nevertheless, we saw this run all the way up to 968.99 was the high, all-time high for Tesla. And then in 5 minutes, this happened. This is a 30-minute chart, but in 5 minutes, there's this huge giant red candle right at the end of the day after it came up to the all-time highs. And then it just came down after that. Gap down the next day, finally bottomed out. And I think this is a pretty good fill here. Gap fill all the way down to 683 lows, and then it came up over 700 and never really came back down. So it came up over 700, bounced off of 700 once, and has really kind of developed this channel between $700 and $750. Bounced up or broke up over that briefly, came back down, and just kind of been chilling in this channel. And I think that's probably what we'll see from Tesla, unless, there's other variables here. The Gigafactory is supposed to open back up this week. If it does not, that could potentially impact Tesla and may even drive the price down below 700 if that, for some reason, does not get going. But I will say that the closer we get to Battery Day, which is in April, 4/20, I think is the actual day for that. I don't know if there's any correlation, but 4/20 is the day for Battery Day where Elon will be announcing how they have developed their batteries. And I think rumor has it that the batteries that will be coming out in the future will have around 500 to 600 mile ranges. So that's one of the rumors that's floating around. Also with their battery storage when it comes to their solar lines as well. So I think leading into that, we should continue to see a move here. And obviously there's other catalysts as well. We have the Model Y. So be on the lookout for that. But I think right now in the short term, we're looking to see if the Gigafactory actually indeed opens back up this week. Look, China is a really big fan of Elon Musk and Tesla. They love having him there. And I think that they will do anything that they can to try to open up the factory again. But with this disease in a heavily populated Asian country and is impacting this stock. And so if you guys are curious about what I'm talking about, I cannot say what the actual disease is or what country it's actually in because YouTube will demonetize my video, which is why I did not put it in my description or in my title, and it's ridiculous. So we're just going to refer to it as a disease in a heavy populated country in Asia. Okay? So if you want to know about those stocks, about a disease that just so happens to be in a heavily populated country in Asia, come hang out with me in our Discord or Facebook, and I'll tell you all about them. But I'm not going to talk about them here because YouTube thinks, I don't know, doesn't want me to talk about it. It's been really crazy controversy. So you want to know about a disease in a heavily populated country in Asia, I'd be happy to talk about it with you, but it will not be on YouTube. Sorry about that. All right. So, anyhow, thanks for sticking with us. Yeah. Where did you find confirmation about the Battery Investor Day? So it's actually on their website. And in their latest quarterly report, battery days on 420. Is a bunch of people saying a bunch of crap or something? What's going on? Rhymes with angina. Is there somebody trolling in here? It looks like it. Looks like there's a bunch of people trolling in here. Anyways, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, guys, if you start spamming in here, you're just going to get kicked out. So anyways, so let me scroll back up here. I'm going to look for Peloton. So yeah, lost one, didn't forget about you. Peloton, I'm going to pull up the chart here as I'm talking about, but Peloton actually missed earnings, ended up gapping down. Peloton's another one of those ones that we talked about. And it's the same class, right? Same class as like Uber or Lyft. They came out and it's just grow at all costs and figure it all out after you get big enough to take over the market share, right? It sort of worked out for Uber so far. I don't know if it ends up working out for Peloton or not, but you can see, let me pull up the chart. Ended up missing earnings. Let me skip over here. So let me pull up the chart here. Ended up missing earnings, and you can see a gap down significantly, gap down the very next day. And this is on the daily chart. Right now, you could probably anticipate it continuing to come down and maybe even bottoming out here right around 26.75. That seems to be the next area of support for this. I haven't gotten a chance to see what it did after hours on Friday, but if it hasn't already bounced off of this level, look for it to come down there. And if it ends up breaking this level, it might have a tough time coming all the way back down to potentially $24, less than $24.50. So, it might be tough for Peloton. The real struggle here with this lost one is that even through quarter four, which was Christmas time, right? They wanted to see really good outlook for them. They wanted to see a bunch of signups. It didn't happen. And that was one of the most crucial times of the year for Peloton to really shine, and they didn't. So I don't expect Peloton to wow us with anything crazy because of that fact. I don't know what they have to do to be able to change the outlook for investors. But at this point in time, Peloton's something that I'm not crazy about. And I would anticipate this probably ends up going lower if it ends up breaking these levels. So if it were me, this would be probably something that I would stay away from until they showed us something that gave us some sort of positivity or positive outlook for the company. When you're, at Christmas time, when there's, or during the holidays, when you could, really capitalize and knock everybody out of the park with your fantastic numbers, and then you fail to do so, that's really tough sledding for somebody like Peloton. So, look for those levels. Maybe there's an opportunity to grab some at a really cheap price. But for me personally, this is really kind of risky to be buying in even at these levels, even though it's gapped down. So just be on the lookout for that. If it starts to make a turn, maybe you'll be into some, some really good trading there, but we'll see. We'll see. It's not something that I'm very positive on at this point. All right. Yeah, no problem, man. Yep, I got it. I got Peloton. What else? What other ones? I scroll through all this crap. All right, so Peloton. We got Peloton. So you're buying Tesla. So yeah, I'm actually I've been long on Tesla for quite some time. Yeah, what is with everybody? Feel free to ban those people. Eugene doesn't trust Peloton. Yeah, I think, is Peloton good for a possible short? That's a good question, Quick Fox. I would say that right now that it would be even risky to go short just because it's gapped down so much that maybe there's a chance that this has some sort of dead cat bounce in it. But, we'll see. I think it's risky either way. It'd just be something that I would stay away from. There's so many other good opportunities out there that this would just be one that I would stay away from. Alan said you posted to look higher. Alan, can you just put them back down in here so I don't have to scroll away back up? But I appreciate that, buddy. Thanks so much. There's a lot of garbage up there. So let's see here. Let me. I see somebody SPCE. Yeah, that's what space crap, right? I don't mean to say crap, but it's like it's Virgin's, right? SPCE. It's been going off like crazy. I know I've been seeing a lot of people talking about it. Yeah, Virgin Galactic. I got to be honest with you. I don't know much about the stock itself, but we can take a look at the chart. I know that it's been going off like crazy. Huge gap down here. Let's go back to the daily chart, see what it looks like on the daily. On the daily chart, you can actually see that it's potentially flagging here on the daily. So for a long-term potential, this may be a good buy. But if I was going to buy it long-term, I would look for some sort of breakout above $20. And that's just me looking at the chart. But you can see on the daily, it looks like a pretty decent flag forming. It's not the most perfect thing in the world, but it does look like it could potentially be flagging here. Looking at it on the 30-minute chart, again, I don't know if you could make the case or make the argument that $19 flat ends up being a resistance for it. So if it breaks up over that, it should continue. And then again, you would have to look for it here up at $20. Then moving back down forward, if you were looking for a nice dip buy, I would look for a dip buy here at around $18 flat. Seems to be pretty consistent there in those areas. But again, like I said, on a daily, it looks like it's a pretty good, and you can see here, look on the daily, let's draw some trend lines here. And you can see this trend line looking pretty decent there. Another trend line looking pretty decent there. You can see that that's potentially, it's not like the cleanest bull flag pattern you've ever seen, but on the daily, it looks pretty darn good to make a really good move there. Again, like I said, I don't know anything fundamentally that much about it, so I don't want to talk about it too much. But if you're looking to trade it on the technicals, I think there's a pretty good setup here for sure. Just looking at price action and the patterns that it's made here. All right. PCG killer daily chart. Yeah, so PCG made an incredible run last week. One of our folks in the mentorship actually shouted that out and did really well on that too. Coming out of bankruptcy this summer is a BK. Is that bankrupt? They weren't in bankruptcy, were they? Maybe they were. I can't recall off the top of my head. Too big to fail in California. It's the largest utility company, Cali. Yeah, so let's take a look at that one. PCG, Alan, I saw that you put a couple up there. I'll make sure that I get to those too, buddy. No problem. So PG&E is a utility company in California. If you guys recall, I think they were sued, were they not? Because of the way that the California fires were handled. This is not something that I'm 100%. I don't want to speak out of line, so I'm pretty sure that's what the issue was there, and so they ran into a lot of trouble as far as that was concerned. Major lawsuits, that sort of thing. You can see there's a clear resistance here. 1740 is a clear resistance. So if this ends up breaking up over that, should move very, very nicely. Let's go out to the daily chart and see if there's, so you can see this gap ended up filling here. Right here at 1494, and it ended up starting to move up even further after this gap up here on, was it Thursday, I believe it was. And so right now, this is an obvious resistance. You can see here. Look at this. Look how many times, and let me zoom in here a little bit. Look how many times this came up here and was a support. This is such a strong support for PCG back when those fires occurred and before it finally ended up breaking it. So really, really strong support lends itself to being a really, really strong resistance. So you can see that here, that could definitely be a potential breakout. If it breaks out up over this resistance at around 1740, 1745, it could make a really, really nice move to at least $19 or more. So yeah, very good call out there. I like PCG technically. I don't know what's going on with it fundamentally, but it looks really good on the chart. Okay. VTVT and OBLN. VTVT. Let's take a look at that one. I got you, Alan. Let's just do one, Alan. I'll do one of the two, and I'll do VTVT. And if you want me to take a look at it, I know how to find you. All right. If you want to take a look at the other one, Biotech Stock. Let's see here. Oh man, that 1 minute chart looks ugly. This 30-minute chart looks ugly too. Look at this, Alan. If you can see this here, despite what news it has on it, let's take a look at this chart. Okay. If you guys can see this, we talked about trends, right? This is nothing but a downward trend right now. So and this goes all the way back to 2 weeks ago. And this is nothing but a downward trend since 2 weeks ago. So if it decides to break out of this trend, maybe it ends up making a nice move. But this is really has some real poor issues here with liquidity. So this would be something I'd be really careful with, especially if you end up buying this, that you might struggle getting out of it. Really, really tough spot to be in if you're in the VTVT. It's not a really good looking chart, and liquidity does not look all that great on this one. Okay. PCG was too. That's what I thought. All right. So I'm going to do one more. And AMRX, let's see what else we got here. HENC. Yeah, let's do that one. And then again, guys, so what I'll do here, like I said in the beginning of the cast of the live stream, if I don't get to your stock, please put it in the comments once this video goes up. It'll go up about 45 minutes after I sign off. Please put those in there, and I promise I will get to those for you. I'll look them over, give you my analysis on them in the comments. I respond to all the comments, and within 24 hours, I will get to your comment. I promise you, okay? So make sure that you're putting the comments down below if I didn't get to your stock tonight. But my voice is kind of starting to go here. So anyways, let's get to HENC. So yeah, I know I didn't mention any OTC stocks today. The reason that I did that is because the OTC has been crap all week. Nothing but fake bullcrap news, fake everything. Nothing but dilution machines. It's just been, listen, the OTC is always known for this kind of crap, right? It's just, there's always just stuff that you have to watch out for. But when you see news coming up on things on resources such as TD Ameritrade and E-Trade, and it's fake news, usually that doesn't happen. When fake news pops up, it's very rare that you see it on a major brokerage like that it slips through those cracks, right? And now they're getting smart enough for that to happen. So I was writing off the OTC all this week for that reason. But we can take a look at HENC if you'd like. So for those of you who never tuned into Stock Watch Sunday, I do look at a lot of the OTC penny stocks as well, and we can take a look at that. So one major resource that I go to for OTC penny stocks is OTC Markets. So if we look up HENC, and we can pull that up on Thinkorswim as well. HENC, let's look at this chart here. Here's what I'll say about HENC. Rumor has it that that Timothy Sykes got into this one. His whole group did. This is why this thing surged up so much. Almost got to a dime. This is on a 30-minute chart. Really good looking cup and handle pattern. At this point, I think it's really overextended. If you look at the security details here, outstanding shares, it's a really good share structure. Okay, verified profile. They're only a little bit behind on their filing, so no big deal there. They came out with news. What was the news here? They didn't come out with news. What is the disclosures? Looks like they came out with some quarterly reports to get themselves current. I guess this one was good. I won't waste your time to look through it, but I heard some rumblings going on about potential mergers and stuff like that. Here's my thing about this. When everybody and their mother, and we saw this, I can't remember what stock it was last week, but I talked about this. Whenever everybody and their mother is in on something and it's gone up this much, I mean, look at it from its lows, it's gone up from 3.5 cents all the way up to nearly a dime. And then you see everybody and their mother. I mean, freaking Timothy Sykes and his cronies are in this. So what do you think happens when it runs up that much, right? And you're the last one to get in. It doesn't usually bode well for you. So could it end up going? Could it continue here? Sure it can. It's definitely possible. But do you want to be the last one that buys in at a stock that's all the way up here, that's gone up 300%? So with HENC, can it continue to run? It's certainly possible. But knowing how Timothy Sykes can be, respect the heck out of him. I mean, people say what they want, but the guy can trade. His MO is that when something goes up like this, he's just about ready to turn around and start shorting it. So the influence here is extreme. And so when people start seeing that shorting starts to happen on this thing, it's going to fall like a rock whenever that time might be. So at this point in time, how you would handle penny stocks such as this is that you don't buy it when it's all the way up here. That's That's how I've been able to survive the OTC. That's how I've been able to survive trading penny stocks. And anybody will tell you that. Anybody who's been trading penny stocks for any amount of time will tell you buying something that's gone up, and really you can make the argument that it's gone up. It's had lows of less than a penny if you go back a couple of days. So if it's gone up 1,000% in, a few days time, should you be buying something that's already gone up 1,000% that quickly? You really have to ask yourself, am I willing to take that risk? If it were me as a veteran penny stock trader, I would say no. That would just be my, that's just my thing. I can't consciously say, this is a good trade. Get yourself into it. No problem, with knowing that it's already gone up 1,000%. I just can't do it. So that's my reasoning there. I hope that helps. It's not me bashing it or anything like that. A lot of people like to accuse me of doing stuff like that, and it's really not it. It's just the truth. More times than not, it'll end up coming down and falling on its face, and and then in a week everybody forgets about it. So, let me just check in with you guys. Alan, appreciate it, man. Thanks for the love, buddy. Appreciate the donation and supporting of the channel, man. Thanks so much for that. Always love that kind of stuff. So thanks for the donation. Really appreciate it. All right. So that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. By the way, I just want to get you one last thing. The World Series of Day Trading. If you guys are interested in that, in the community that we've built, we got almost 100 people that are in the World Series of Day Trading right now. So if you're interested in attending the World Series of Day Trading, tomorrow is the last day to sign up for that. So links are in the description. If they're not, go to the We Trade HQ page. Right on the homepage, the banner's there. You can sign up for the World Series of Day Trading under Team We Trade HQ or Team Brad. And we basically get to compete with almost around 10,000 other traders from around the globe and win a lot of prizes and that sort of thing, funded accounts, that sort of thing. So if you're interested in checking that out, links are down in the description. Again, if you'd like to check out my mentorship, links are down in the description below. Hope you're amazing. Thanks so much for the support. And that's going to do it for me, guys. Oh my gosh, you guys are awesome. Thanks, Scalicia. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but thank you so much. I appreciate the support, guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, as always, I will see you all before the bell. Happy trading. Good luck out there this week. And B Smith is out. Have a good one, guys.